Hello, Howard Times viewers. Judy Shields here. Today we welcome Brandon Fugal of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Do not get that confused. Who is the current owner of Skinwalker Ranch? It's a 512-acre property in Utah, known as one of the most infamous and secretive hotspots of high strangeness and UAP-related activity on Earth. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much, Judy, for having me. And I'm anxious to answer any questions and share with you a bit of our journey in investigating the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet.
Ooh, that's amazing. First of all, I gotta say, look at all that stuff you've got in the background there. That's some pretty
Yeah,
cool stuff.
yeah. I'm a collector of cultural artifacts. I not only apparently collect property that that has high strangeness associated with it, but cultural artifacts that have had a role in shaping our view of the world. So that's the poltergeist clown, the evil poltergeist clown, one of a kind from that hit movie. Uh, Produced and directed by Steven Spielberg and Toby Hooper. That's over my other shoulder is one of the surviving pieces from Close Encounters, the alien costume worn by a 6-year-old ballerina for Steven Spielberg in the final Devil's Tower scene. Of course, the Terminator back there is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So a number of oddities and important artifacts. But Skinwalker Ranch ranks highest in my collection as really the most intriguing and compelling, not only topic, but place on the planet for studying high strangeness involving UFOs, bizarre cattle mutilations, and other high strangeness and disturbing events.
What made you purchase Skinwalker Ranch?
I bought the ranch as a skeptic back in April of 2016. In fact, on April Fool's Day of 2016, I acquired the property from an elusive billionaire out of Las Vegas, real estate tycoon and aerospace entrepreneur, Robert Bigelow, who had held the property for 20 years. And for part of that time had a partnership with the Pentagon and the United States government, where this property was the center of gravity for a Pentagon-funded black budget program studying the UFO phenomena and bizarre cattle mutilations and other high strangeness. And in being introduced to Mr. Bigelow and having the opportunity to engage with him in the purchase of the property, I stood to launch another phase of the investigation and the history relative to this property. I bought it as a skeptic. I was an open-minded skeptic. I'd never seen a UFO, ghost, or orb, or anything of the sort, and I told Mr. Bigelow that I would be bringing in my own team of independent scientists and researchers in order to identify that most likely there's a natural prosaic explanation associated with what had been reported. And I fully expected that there was nothing truly strange or unusual happening on this property. Boy, was I wrong. And I've ended up moving from being an open-minded skeptic to not just a believer, but an experiencer. I can't unsee that which I've witnessed with my own eyes, with witnesses at my side, with data supporting the reality that we are not alone.
So this all just came about, and that's how you got involved with the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, to show all of us like this stuff is like, hey, for real, things are happening.
Yeah.
That what started it.
Well, I bought it as an open-minded skeptic, ultimately became an experiencer, and really launched the most ambitious frontier science research program in secret. I had no desire to ever reveal my identity as the owner. I kept my identity secret and had everyone bound to confidentiality, non-disclosure agreements. And it wasn't until 4 years after purchasing the property that I was persuaded to go public and to reveal my identity and allow some of the finest professionals in television to document the reality of what my team was experiencing and observing on a day-to-day basis on this most strange piece of property.
So, when you first bought it and you went through, being a skeptic, what was the first experience that you had? And was it, terrifying for you?
Well, after purchasing the property in April 2016, a few months later, my drone surveyor, who was spending time days during the week just documenting every inch of the property, started capturing what can only be described as daylight UFO phenomena, unidentified flying objects and aerial phenomena above the property. I was intrigued but not convinced that there was anything really unusual. Every couple of weeks that I was flying in secretly for briefings, I not only failed to see anything unusual, but I didn't even feel anything strange or unusual. It just seemed to be a strikingly beautiful, diverse landscape that combined this Red Rock Mesa plateau that runs the expanse of the property that had been referred to by the Native Americans for generations as Skinwalker Ridge, that had been cursed to be placed in the path of the Skinwalker, the demonic shape-shifting entity of Native American lore. And 6 months went by visiting the property, taking data, having my professionals documenting the land and what was happening before I had my own experience, which was undeniable. It was on October 14th, 2016, that I was hosting some dignitaries on the property and ultimately not only witnessed electromagnetic anomalies, rapid battery depletion with our smartphones, devices that went from 80% to zero, one individual being rendered catatonic in the middle of the day, in the middle of the visit. But to our shock, we saw right in front of us in broad daylight, about 100 feet above the mesa, what can only be described as a 40, 50 foot long silver grayish disc-like object, a flying saucer that defied any conventional explanation, changed position instantaneously as if it were scanning the property or even us, and within 20 seconds was gone in the blink of an eye. That experience, not only witnessed by myself, but others that were there sitting with me, that followed the electromagnetic anomalies and acute medical episode and the rapid battery depletion, left me not only stunned, but changed me from being an open-minded but very skeptical person to an experiencer. I couldn't unsee that which I had witnessed with other credible witnesses at my side. And from that point forward, I devoted even more resource to not only documenting what was happening on the property, but establishing scientific platforms with my principal investigator and chief scientist and others that would help us not only take data relative to the reality of the phenomena and high strangeness at Skinwalker Ranch, but hopefully help us understand the nature of it. And the rest is history. Years later, the History Channel and producers came knocking through my people and persuaded me to take a meeting. I was not interested. In fact, I refused a meeting for a year. Wow. Had no interest in revealing my identity or even having television cameras that would document, the efforts of my team. But I reluctantly took the meeting and was Jedi mind tricked into going public. And 4 years after purchasing it, went public with not only my identity as the owner of this very mysterious piece of property, but the reality of the phenomena and the documentary series, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which has been a hit docuseries every year on the History Channel, and has captured the attention of a global audience that is interested in the fact that we're not alone, that there are strange phenomena that defy any conventional explanation, that it continues to be documented. And I believe it's the greatest science project of our time.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, when you guys were all together that first time you experienced that, did it get like so quiet? Did you guys like, did anybody talk at first? I can't imagine what you
Yeah.
went through at that point.
We were stunned.
Yeah.
There was nothing that could have prepared me for what we saw. And the
Wow.
other individuals that were sitting with me had stated their own skepticism and lack of belief earlier in the day when we embarked on the investigation, or at least the visit to the ranch. Instead of being chatterboxes and excitedly wrapped up in discussion after the sighting, we were all sitting in stunned silence and returned back to the command center, the security trailer, just with a very sober attitude and mood. It's difficult to describe what was felt. I mean, there was absolutely no sound. I mean, whatever we saw was completely silent, but it was clear as day. And it was not far from us. It was right above the mesa, right in front of us. This wasn't some blurry object or blinky light. This was undeniably a solid silver grayish disc-like object that was just, quite large
Wow.
and could change position in the blink of an eye. And it changed everything. It changed my entire trajectory and worldview, and launched us down this path that now has us thankfully presenting the reality of the phenomenon, these topics, to the global public.
Yeah, tomorrow, July 2nd, is UFO World UFO Day. That's got to be pretty exciting. What do you do for that day?
Well, hopefully we gather data and evidence. One thing we always say relative to our investigation of the ranch is that we are not led by some inherited narrative or anecdotal account. We're led by the data, and we are conducting a serious scientific investigation of this property that is presenting data that is compelling, undeniable, somewhat disturbing. I mean, when you're dealing with people that are not only encountering strange phenomena, but also in some cases, unfortunately, acute medical episodes, landing them in the emergency room.
Wow.
Coupled with even seeing the animal life on this property disturbed. I mean, we recently revealed an incident where, a perfectly healthy calf was not only spinning around in circles nonstop, but it was bleeding out of its eyes and lost its eyesight and had to be evacuated from the property.
Oh, terrible.
We still don't know what was behind that disturbing event. Only that it is real, that there are forces at work, at play, that defy any current understanding.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be something. What was it like when you saw the very first episode of The Secret of the Skinwalker Ranch?
It was a bit surreal. I don't like to see myself on camera. I hate it. I really never had a desire to be on television. I mean, I managed to lead the commercial real estate market for decades here as the chairman of Colliers International, which is the largest commercial real estate firm here in the Intermountain West.
Wow.
Without being on camera, without being under the public's microscope. I mean, even though I represent hundreds of properties, and we're fortunate to have hundreds of professionals in my offices, I was not someone who sought publicity or wanted to be on television. I will say the same thing holds true with my team. Dr. Taylor was the only one who had any experience being on television, but our principal investigator and chief scientist, Eric Bard, to this day despises it. He despises the series. He despises being on television. You know, Thomas Winterton had never been on TV or involved, and they was a fish out of water. I mean, Jim Morse, my ranch manager and community liaison, was quite nervous being on camera for the first time, as well as Dragon, my head of security, who I've known since I was 19 years old, and Caleb, our other security, who is also full-time law enforcement out in the Uinta Basin, had never been on camera or really wanted to have that kind of exposure. And so you have a very unlikely diverse team of professionals that have come together under my stewardship in service to documenting the reality of this and bringing the truth forward. And several of these people have ended up in the hospital with mysterious injuries and illness. And this has become very, very personal for them. This is sobering and something not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, I was wondering who was on your team. I mean, bravo to all of you. You make it look, so like you've been doing it for forever.
It's nerve-wracking being on camera, being mic'd up all day long. But I have to give credit to the History Channel and our production partners at Prometheus. They have had integrity with the entire process. My agreement with them was that nothing could be faked, manipulated, or contrived, that they had to document only reality and let the truth be told. Even if nothing occurred, that would be what ended up on screen. And using my team of diverse experts with no experience on television that had started with me years before any promise of a television docuseries or any solicitation is something that I think sets our investigation apart from any other that has occurred. And I have to applaud the transparency of my team and the integrity of this effort to allow the public, the viewing public on a global basis, be able to follow our adventure and our investigation and be part of science and discovery for the first time.
Like, what would you like to see covered in like upcoming episodes?
Well, we continue to repeat some of our most spectacular experiments. I mean, it's no secret that we have been deploying, I think, the most sophisticated drones, instrumented drones in service to exploring the airspace above the property, specifically above the Triangle and other regions of Skinwalker Ranch that have exhibited strange activity. We're also exploring regions of the property that had previously never been documented or explored with some really exciting and somewhat disturbing results. There is a waterway that runs through the center of the property called Dry Gulch Creek that the team explored with scientific devices and monitoring equipment. And they happened upon a very large wolf-like creature with large teeth that was documented, that was really out of place, that we've never captured anything like that on camera, but it was there decomposing in the Dry Gulch Creek and was quite unusual. In fact, our biologist and animal scientist researcher that accompanied the team said that the teeth most closely matched those belonging to a prehistoric or extinct dire wolf. I mean, just so many things that seem to converge, that seem to be documented on a regular basis with frequency on and above this property that just defy any natural explanation.
Oh my goodness. I was wondering, were you interested in UFOs as a boy? And maybe it was the first time you saw something that,
I even though I'd never seen a UFO or a ghost or anything of the sort,
yeah.
and I had grown very, very skeptical uh, as the years went by and as I grew older. I grew up as a child of the 80s. I grew up on a steady diet of Spielberg, Lucas,
Yes.
Ridley Scott, you name it. And I think that you can't grow up during this period of time without having some interest and fascination with the unknown, with asking the big questions. Are we alone in the universe?
Yeah.
Is there more to our reality than meets the eye? But actually seeing data and scientific evidence proving that is it's quite another thing. And I think that's one of the things that makes my stewardship of this property and our docu-series on History Channel truly unique. I believe we are for the first time in history presenting compelling, unambiguous data that demonstrates that we aren't alone, that there are strange things happening in our world that defy any current conventional explanation. And we're trying to get to the bottom of what is really happening in the nature of reality as we know it.
So it sounds like skeptics out there might become less that by watching this show, right?
Yeah, if they're paying attention.
Yes.
If they if they leave their confirmation bias at the door and they have an open mind, and also take a good hard look at what we are presenting, not only the data, but the fact that we're bringing an unprecedented number of third-party experts, subject matter experts, dealing with everything from drone surveys to ground penetrating radar to environmental testing to any number of disciplines, to study what is happening on the ranch. I mean, when you have third-party experts that are putting their reputations on the line, that are going on record relative to what they are experiencing, what they are documenting with their own independent scientific platforms, I think it's ignorance to ignore it, to dismiss it, simply because it doesn't fall within one's paradigm or is in conflict with someone's worldview. And I'm hoping that people actually approach these topics with an open mind. I don't have any problem with critical thinking or skepticism. I was a huge skeptic when I bought the property, and even told the previous owner that I had a lot of skepticism and believed that there was a natural prosaic explanation for what had been reported, and didn't mean any offense by that or disrespect, but I just simply was not one to believe that there was anything truly strange happening. And it has been a humbling and sobering experience to not only see with my own eyes, but to see data and to see people impacted. It's not just me. You don't have to take my word for it or even my team's word for it. Take the countless third-party experts that have nothing to gain but everything to lose by being on this property and associated with these topics. Anyone who dismisses all of the cumulative evidence that has been provided the last 5 years is ignorant.
Very well said. Very well said. If you don't mind me asking, how many people live there on the ranch?
Presently, there are 3 people on the property, but we rotate security through. And I think the one thing that sets our investigation apart from all others is the fact that we have a full-time physicist and research scientist stationed on site that really never leaves. He's been there for years, without
Wow.
without leaving and taking a break, which is something I did not expect, but he has been steadfast and insistent on doing in service to getting to the bottom of what is happening on this property.
That's dedication.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
It's quite
Bravo.
impressive and unprecedented. And I
Yeah.
think the level of transparency that we've demonstrated, our ability to not only open up the gates, if you will, to the viewing public, but also to allow everything from a live stream of the property. I mean, we have a web portal, our Skinwalker Ranch website, which is at www.skinwalker-ranch.com, provides insiders with 24-hour access to live stream footage
Wow.
and a peek inside the ranch at all times. And so at any given time, we may have hundreds of people actually monitoring the property as part of the expanded investigation. I think it's going to take a diverse, collaborative approach to be able to get to the bottom of what is happening on this property.
Do you have a lot of people that reach out to you that want to come and help you there? And
Constantly, and people understandably don't understand that this is a secure site. It has been under armed, guarded surveillance for 28 years,
oh my goodness.
and there is a reason why this is a secure site. Bad things happen. There is danger here. I won't even allow my own children to ever set foot on this property. And those who enter have to sign not only a liability waiver, but be fully aware that that there are risks associated with engaging these topics.
Wow. How can our viewers watch your show and share any other social medias that you might have?
You know, every Tuesday night right now on the History Channel. Also can be viewed, I believe, on Hulu, Amazon Prime, and other outlets. But it's a History Channel original series. This is a true docuseries. This is not faked. It isn't contrived. What you are seeing is a real, true, direct account of our research activities on the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet. And it's a privilege to be engaging the public. Also, Tuesday nights, we have Beyond Skinwalker, which follows, that actually takes the investigation beyond the gates of Skinwalker Ranch to other sites of interest across the country. And I think it is blowing people's minds. It should be. Anyone who doesn't leave watching these programs with a different worldview, or at least scratching their heads, is is unfortunately asleep at the wheel. But,
I have to tell you, I can't watch it on Tuesday night because I watched it the first time that I was been watching it, and it's like I can't go to sleep, so I have to watch it the next day during the day, so that because it just takes my mind, and it's like,
yeah, well, it's disturbing. It's somewhat disturbing.
yeah.
But thank you so much, Judy. It's
Thank
been
you
a
so
pleasure.
much.
And stay tuned. And
Yeah,
thank you everyone for
we
watching our
appreciate you.
investigation.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care, and we will make sure we get links out there for you. This will be on our YouTube channel, The Hollywood Times Official, and we'll get that out for you. But we do appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.